You're tuned into Auto Intelligence, live from Auto Trader, where data, tools, and your preferences sync to make your car shopping smooth.
They're searching inventory.
Oh, yeah.
They find what you need.
They're gonna find it.
You can make a budget for your wallet to help you succeed. Pricing's precise and true.
So true.
It's smarter car shopping.
Ooh.
Just for you.
Oh, it's just for you.
Ooh.
Find your next ride at autotrader.com. Powered by Auto Intelligence.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a sea captain. You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team. Shouldn't it be the same for your insurance? So don't settle for just any insurance when you can go with a leader. State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Navigate the gauntlet of uncertainty the world throws at your business with SAP. Whether it's a tropical storm hitting your warehouse or a short supply of those little plastic twist ties, SAP can help you tackle those unexpected crushing setbacks with its AI-powered capabilities. To pivot to new suppliers, automate paperwork, and source the twist ties you need at the price you want, so your business can stay unstoppable. Learn more at sap.com/uncertainty.
It's the Duke Fan, 755 podcasts in the books. Well, at least when we're done with this one, they'll be in the books. On the Duke Basketball Roundup, I'm Jason Evans, joined by my buddy Donald Wine. It is Sunday evening, almost 9 o'clock, Donald. We are here to celebrate a Blue Devil victory over the Syracuse Orange.
Yeah, well, hi, Jason. It was a great weekend for Duke football. We might be talking about Duke being one of the better teams in the ACC so far this season? Question mark?
Yeah.
I don't like. It's funny. 2 weeks ago, we were kind of the sky was falling a bit for Duke football, and what a difference a couple weeks makes. A couple of big victories. We're right back into things.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, before we get to all of it, I'm going to take a personal moment here. Pretty big event in the Evans household happened yesterday. My youngest son, Alec, got engaged to his girlfriend. And so I don't know when it'll be. Could be a year and a half, 2.5, 3, who knows. But I have a wedding on the way, so to speak. Very exciting news for all of us here in the Evans family. And yeah, I just want to. Alec doesn't even listen. Believe it or not, my kids don't listen to my podcasts. My other son Drew listens more than Alec does. But I just wanted to go ahead and say that big moment here for all of us. And Kelsey Johnson, welcome to the Evans family.
Yeah, well, Jason, congrats to Alec and to the family. I saw the post. I think Mrs. Evans posted earlier today,
yes.
Which is very big news. I know offline we had talked about this sort of thing might have been in the works and coming, but I'm glad everything went well. It looked like looks like he did a good job in the ring department, and I'm really, really happy for him and for your family. That's really cool news.
Thank you very much. All right, personal stuff put aside now. Let's get to the game. The Blue Devils beat the Syracuse Orange 38-3. That's a big number, Donald.
Yeah, that was fun.
38-3. Quite impressive. We had a couple headlines, and we had another listener email us something, and I wanted to get all these in before we get to looking at the good and the bad from this game. John Grantland sent us this. He said, Orange crushed. Duke's balanced attack gets the victory. I like that. I mean, I know it's obvious. Orange crush, we always get those kind of things, but Duke truly crushed Syracuse. Like,
I'm now thirsty.
Really appropriate.
I'm now Orange Crush is a great drink in Baltimore land. So I'm now thirsty. Thank you, John, for making me thirsty.
And then Chris Immersheim, I like this. He went with a Christmas theme. He said, the wise Mensa gave the ball to the shepherd.
Very, very cool. And it's cool that we got some headlines. I know we don't get it normally as much, but it's clear that we watch the games and a lot of you out there do too. So it's cool to get reactions about the football team as we go along. And I know as we're entering one of the busier months of the year, Jason, because we're going to be starting to really do basketball and football at the same time here. But it's good to focus on the football team while we still can.
Exactly, especially when they're playing this well. And then I wanted to shout out Matthew Lofton, who sent us an email, and he pointed this out. I love this. He said, in the calendar year of 2025, the Duke men's basketball, women's basketball, and football teams have beaten Syracuse by a combined margin of 95 points. He pointed out the closest that Syracuse came to beating Duke was in men's basketball, believe it or not, where Duke only won by 29. We won in women's basketball by 31, and then in football, we just won by 35. I'm sorry, Syracuse. You were non-competitive against Duke in the three major revenue sports.
Jason, if we can shift, because I know you want to start with the good and bad from this game. I want to start in a weird place. I want to start at the very end of the game, because at the very end of the game, Syracuse was driving. It was like 3 minutes left. They were driving down the field to try and get a satisfactory touchdown to at least feel like there was leave with at least a slightly good taste in their mouth to end the game. And they got all the way down to the goal line. It was 1st and goal, 4 shots at the end zone. And our defense...
They were at the 2. Yeah.
They were at the 2-yard line, and our defense stoned them 4 times. And you could see the euphoria that they had. It was the first time, I believe, since the Elon game in 2024 that we did not allow a touchdown in the game. You could see the euphoria coming from them on being able to not just make that defensive stand, but to end the game having not given up a touchdown. It's as it's as close to a shutout as you can possibly get, right? A crafty little field goal is all Syracuse got. Credit to the defense for not just sticking it out all game long, but even again when it was garbage time, when teams are easily within their reason to kind of let the other team waltz into the end zone to give them a touchdown for the home fans to go home with something happy. Duke said, you will get no porridge for dinner and you will like it. And I like that from our defense, the fact that they were able to do that.
The note that I took on that was not just the degree to which the defense was taking pride in their performance, but Donald, it was the second and third. I mean, look, the score was 38-3.
Right.
Duke had the deep bench in there at that moment of the game. It was not the starters, because you're not going to risk an injury at that moment. So it was these guys further down, younger guys, freshmen and sophomores. It was younger guys who were out there on the field who were like, we are not giving up a TD. I thought it was a great moment for the psyche of this team, for the way the team is coached, for the mental preparation every single guy in that roster takes going into the game. I love that. I had that in my notes as well. I think that was a great moment.
It's the defensive equivalent of running up the score, right? On offense, you're like, hey, the guys come in and you're like, hey, I'm not going to tell them to not score, right? We may be running the ball all the time, but these guys are going to run and they're going to try and compete because this is the playing time they get. These defensive guys had their moment, Jason, as you mentioned. They came off the bench and they said, hey, I know the first stringers didn't give up a touchdown. Neither will we. We're going to end up where we're playing our hearts out. And yeah, Syracuse, we could have easily let Syracuse walk into the end zone and make it 38-10. It's still a blowout victory.
No one would have cared.
No one would have cared, but they cared. And again, that's the mentality that this team, and Jason, we didn't see it a couple weeks ago, right? We'll be frank. We did not see that kind of mentality a couple weeks ago. So for them to have that moment is super great. And it's going to hopefully give them the boost in the next couple of weeks.
Well, and let's stay on the defense for a moment, because it's worth noting this Syracuse team put up 34 points a week ago against Clemson. Like this is
in Death Valley.
Yeah, this is a good Syracuse team. And look, we mentioned that Ricky Collins was getting his first start in this game. That Syracuse was down their starting quarterback. But let's be clear, Ricky Collins is not a slouch of a player. This is a kid who was really highly touted coming out of high school. He spent a couple of years at LSU as a backup there before coming to Syracuse. He's not a bad QB. There was very much a competition in the preseason to see who would be the Syracuse quarterback. It wasn't there was no presumption that Ricky Collins was going to be the backup coming into this year. And Duke made him look uncomfortable the entire time. He only averaged 6.2 yards per attempt. We intercepted him. We forced him into a weird fumble where like he was trying to throw the ball and it's just awful. He just looked shaky out there the whole time. And I think that was largely because Duke was putting pressure on him. And I love that we put pressure on him, by the way, without resorting to a lot of blitzes, linebackers, safeties, corners. It was just the frontline guys like, we're going to come back there. We're going to get in your face. Our defensive backfield is going to make you so you don't have open receivers. Your guys are not going to get much rushing the ball. They had less than 100 yards. Did not have a good game rushing the ball at all, Syracuse. So Duke did all the things to make him uncomfortable. And I wanted to shout out two guys. Nick Morris Jr. is out for the season. He posted a really, really nice photo on social media of him lying on a couch with his injured leg up on the end of the couch and the football game on the TV in front of him. And he's like, different view this Saturday. Feel terrible for Nick that he's out for the year. Thrilled that everything indicates he's going to be back next season. Mm-hmm. But with Nick out, Duke elevated two freshmen, Bradley Gompers and Elliot Shaper. I'm not sure. Those guys moved up in the depth chart. Now I don't think they were starters, but they got a lot more playing time than they usually would. And both those guys, I thought Gompers especially, I noticed him on several different plays. He ended up fifth on the team in tackles, Bradley Gompers. One guy went down, other guys stepped up. That's what a football season is all about. And for us to be able to do that with true freshmen, actually, maybe redshirt freshmen, but with freshmen on defense, it's a big deal and a good sign that Duke is going to continue to be a formidable force in the ACC.
And Gompers got the fumble recovery. He got one of two fumble recoveries on the day. So he was very impactful on defense. And I think also, Jason, you mentioned that very cleverly that they were not really doing blitzes and stuff. It was a lot of feints and stunts, right? They were kind of sitting there like, oh, we're going to rush five. Oh, no. Two are going to drop back. And the thing is with a new quarterback, when they kind of see the team, the defense kind of present something that they don't know, what are they going to do? They're going to panic a little bit more than the starter would because he's not as used to it. And I think that what we did is we made Collins panic more than one occasion. Funny thing is we had a lot of penalties that kind of allowed Syracuse to kind of stay in there early. But there was a point where our defense said, okay, time to turn the faucet off. They've had their fun. We've given them a lot of chances here and no more. And they just kind of locked it down from like the second quarter on. And it felt like no matter what, they said, we are not walking out of this Carrier Dome, which is still called the Carrier Dome. We are not walking out of here with them scoring a touchdown and getting back into this ball game. That's great fundamentals. That's great pride. It's great coaching and just great ownership and accountability on the part of the defense.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to some of the good on offense.
Choo-choo!
There was plenty of the Nate train was rolling. Yes, we have learned that Duke has a nickname for Nate Shepherd. True freshman, again, not redshirt, true freshman Nate Shepherd. Coach Manny Diaz said that his nickname, he is the Nate Train. The Nate Train was rolling. Jaquez Moore is hurt, banged up a little bit. He was not the starter in this game. They made Nate Shepherd the starter. I want to remind everybody, by the way, Jaquez Moore, when he was healthy a couple of years ago, he had 2 years in a row where he was like more than 6 yards per carry. When that guy's healthy again, he's going to be an impact for Duke. We saw a week ago, Anderson Castle had a big game. But Donald, for 3 weeks now, I've been saying, hey, can we get a few extra carries for this Nate Shepherd kid? Maybe get him up close to 20 touches? That'd be awful nice. Well, Nate Shepherd got 19 touches in this game, 15 carries, 4 receptions, and accounted for almost 200, or actually more than 200 yards of offense. I mean, it was a show. It was fun to watch. And if I can really quick, his combination of patience, explosion, and power, it's just rare that you see that. I mean, he hits the hole super fast. He then bull rushes over the linebackers and the guys in the secondary. He breaks tackles every time he touches the ball, it feels like. But I love the run where there was one of his runs where he seemed to dance behind the line for a couple moments. Like he was waiting. He was like, okay, something's going to open up here. Something's going to happen. And when it happened, he hit it super fast and broke it through for like 15 yards or something like that. I love that kind of patience. You don't see that from true freshmen. It's just incredibly rare. And Manny Diaz in the postgame praised Nate Shepherd, of course. But he also said, he went out of his way to praise the offensive line. He said they're playing their butts off. They're the ones making the holes that he's running through. And the last thing I have on the Nate train, I saw a number of folks on Saturday who were saying the same thing that I was thinking, which is Duke boosters, you need to start raising NIL money right now to keep this kid, because the SEC, the big time programs, the SEC, they're going to take one look at the tape from this game and say, I want that kid in the portal right away. Duke needs to make sure Nate Shepherd and Darian Mensah are both back next year. Oh, wow. That would be fun.
So I learned the other day when he was going off for more than 200 total yards that Nate Shepherd's full government name is Nathan Bartholomew Odenton Salisbury Shepherd, which if you put those initials together means that he's a boss. Nate was a boss on Saturday. That is not his actual government name. Maybe it is. I doubt it's Bartholomew. But what I am clear on is that man was a boss on Saturday.
I thought you were talking for real, man. That would be awesome.
The fact is, I made that up on the fly too. But no, Jason. The funny thing is he comes from Louisiana, and me and my best friend were talking about this the other day. He comes from Louisiana, and we beat out Ole Miss to get him, and we're like, how did he slip through LSU and Ole Miss's grass into RM? Wow. So you mentioned the SEC going after him. The SEC at least already had an eye on him, but this guy, I mean, he was, like you said, the way he was able to attack the holes, the way that he was able to create yardage after contact and really just bowl over people. It was a sight to see, and I'm glad that he had this breakthrough game because, as we've mentioned this year, as we mentioned last year, getting the running game to get this kind of production is something that we really need on this team. That's what separates the good teams from the elite. And the fact that we are trying to enter this elite phase where we have this opportunity to go for conference championships, to go for college football playoff. You need a running game to be established. You need the running game to be, hey, I know everyone in the building knows that this guy's going to get the ball, and it doesn't matter because he's going to get his yards, he's going to get his touches, he's going to get his scores. And I think that combined with Castle, you had Bates, who also provided a long run, and the fact that you have these guys in this running back room able to create yardage on 1st and 10, 2nd and short, creating those opportunities for us to air the ball out to our guys who are wide receivers who are very good, right? To have those opportunities to say, hey, let's take a shot downfield because we know that Anderson Castle or Nate Shepherd is going to get us 5 yards on the next play. That is something that we definitely need. It will help even when Jaquez Moore comes back, if he when he comes back from being injured, because we need those guys to be great from week to week, because that's how good teams become the elite teams.
Completely agreed, sir. As we continue talking about the good things from the Duke offense, by the way, Duke put up 500 plus yards of total offense in this game. First time we've done that against an ACC opponent since 2022. We did it against both Wake and UNC back in 2022. I look forward to us doing that against Wake and UNC again this year as well.
That'd be great. Yeah, do that. Do this every week. Yeah.
I want to talk about Darian Mensah for a second. In this game, he completes, what was it? It was 22 of 28 passes. It's not bad. Not bad at all. On the season, he's completing almost 70% of his passes. He's averaging 9 yards per attempt. He has 13 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. He has 1,573 yards passing on the season, 1,573 yards through 5 games. That's the third most in all of college football. Everyone in college football, every quarterback, he's third in total offense. He's top 20 in the nation in QB rating. He's top 25 in completion percentage. His 13 TD passes, fifth most in all of college football. Dude is a star. He's a star. Look, it's early. Duke needs to win more games. We need to see what else happens in the ACC. He's, at the moment, Darian Mintz is a contender for ACC Player of the Year. There's absolutely no question about that at this moment. And if Duke keeps winning, he will very, very much be in that conversation.
I think he'll also be in the conversation for some national awards. He may not get them, but he'll be, when you talk about, the Walter Camp Award or the Davey O'Brien, or is that Davey O'Brien Award, Maxwell Award, those type of awards that are not Heisman, but those prestigious awards by position on offense. He's going to have his name in those conversations if he keeps this up. The best thing about this right now is we have not yet maximized his potential. We still There's still some room for improvement there. There's still some connectivity that he can improve with his teammates in the form of the passing and the decision making, the check downs and things like that. But you see it all slowing down for him on this team, and I think that is something that you definitely need. He's the leader, right? He's the quarterback. The fact that you have a run game behind him that's going to be great. You have a line in front of him that's going to keep him clean for the most part. He's able to make those throws and be confident in the fact that, just like last week against NC State, he went to Cooper Barkate one time. It didn't really work out. And he said, you know what? I'm going to do it again. Give me one play and then let him get his rest. When he comes back in, run that same play again. Boom. 37-yard touchdown. So we have you see these moments where he looks at a guy and he knows, hey, I know what they're telling us to do, but do this because I already see that this is going to work. It worked last time. We just didn't connect the way that we should have. Let's execute it this time. And I think that's going to, if that improves as the season goes along, again, we're looking at a dynamite talent. And I think the points are going to come with it. That takes so much pressure off of the defense. The defense doesn't have to pitch shutouts, but it is helpful that they do.
Yeah. Cooper Barkate gets 2 touchdowns this game. By the way, both those plays almost seemed too easy. Like the Syracuse defensive backfield just completely lost Cooper. Like, oh shoot, we got to keep up.
There was one, Jason, where it looked like he like in the middle of the pass, like the pass is coming to him and he's about to catch it. He kind of looked around and be like, am I out of bounds or something? Like, I'm standing in the end zone. Okay, I'll catch it. Like he had to make sure, he almost had a double take of where he was on the field because he was so wide open.
Yeah, but Darian Mintz did a nice job moving the ball around. I mean, Barkate had 4 receptions. Q Brown had 5. Samir Hagans had 5. Nate Shepard had 4. He really moved the ball around a lot to different receivers. It was an excellent game by Duke in all phases of the offensive game. I'd really quick just want to mention, I thought the turning point in the game is the almost targeting that turns into instead was a fumble recovery for Duke. Just so folks remember, the game was 10-3 and Syracuse was driving. If that targeting call stands up, and I want to be clear, I see why they reversed it, but I also think they could have decided to keep it as a targeting call. It wasn't a helmet to helmet, but it was hard contact to a receiver in the area of their head. It would not have been unreasonable for them to call. I would have been upset. I wouldn't have liked it, but it would not have been unreasonable for them to call targeting. Instead, they go to the booth, they check it out, and they come out of that and they go, no targeting. And by the way, it was a fumble, and Duke recovered. But if that targeting had been called, Syracuse would have been in the red zone in a 10-3 ball game. Instead, Duke takes 48 seconds. Nate Shepard rambles about 20-something, and then Cooper Barkate gets wide open and scores a touchdown. 48 seconds later, it's 17-3. Talk about a completely different game. 10-3, you're in the red zone versus 17-3, and you're like, oh my God, we're in huge trouble here. No question, that's the turning point in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. At that point, I was at lunch, but I was following on my phone, so I was driving and listening. So I'm kind of like, what's going on? My best friend texted me at the same time you and Scott in our chat were texting each other, and it was kind of like, okay, we are just shooting ourselves in the foot with these penalties here. And I'm like, we need to figure out a way to take control of this game because it feels like it's right there. And then 5 seconds later, my best friend texts me, goes, we have taken control of this game. And I'm like, oh, what? Cool. What happened? Like, and he's like, touchdown. I was like, didn't we not have the ball? And he's like, yeah, don't worry about that. Like, we got the ball, we scored, we're in control. And again, that's how quickly it turned. And Jason, this is how you take advantage of stuff, right? Like, whether you call that a controversial call, where you think it's black or white, whether you think it's the gray, does not matter. The call was made, and they said, let's make sure we take care of the football, and let's make sure we capitalize and get some points out of this, because no way do we want to go back and go, yeah, this was a turning point in the game that should have gone the other way. They took care of business there, and I think that's how they were able to take control. I think Syracuse was knocked back on their heels at that point, and we just put foot to gas.
I like it. All right, we're going to take a quick break. You got anything else on the good? We can move the bad?
No, I think we're good. Yeah.
We're good. All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, a couple little bad things. And I just want to mention a few other scores around the ACC, around college football. We'll get to all that in just a moment.
Between busy schedules and summer plans, sometimes all I've got is a couple minutes. Factor helps me eat smarter with tasty, chef-prepped meals that are dietitian approved and delivered right to my door. And now, with more than 65 weekly meals made for how I live and what I like to eat, I've got even more ways to fit in a real meal wherever the day takes me.
Yeah, that's right, Donald. Not only are they quick to heat up, but now you have a wider selection of meal options, including premium seafood meals like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost. And for the first time, try Asian-inspired meals with bold flavors from China, Thailand, and more. It's responding to what Factor members wanted. That's why 97% of customers say Factor has helped them to live a healthier life. Feel the difference no matter what your routine is.
So eat smart at factormeals.com/DukeBB50 off. Use that code DukeBB50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code DukeBB50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase.
As a scientist, I can tell you that Sundays are only 24 hours long. But with NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get every game every Sunday all in one place. That's upwards of 30 hours of NFL in one day. How can there be 30 hours in 24 hours, you ask? I have a theory. Magic. New users get NFL Sunday Ticket for 8 payments of $34.50 per month. Sign up at NFLSundayTicket.com. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for other market games excludes digital-only games and commercial use. Terms and embargoes apply. Availability varies.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
They got Willa. They got my daughter. I need to find her.
From acclaimed director Paul Thomas Anderson.
You can save that girl.
Today, experience what is being called the best movie of the year.
This is the end of the line. Not for you.
Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Tiana Taylor, Chase Infinity.
Let's go! Here I come.
One battle after another, now playing only in theaters. Experience it in IMAX. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent.
You can't hide.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
All right, we're back from the break, Donald, and just a couple additional notes on the Duke-Syracuse game. Again, a contest Duke wins 38-3. The couple things I want us to, we take the good, we take the bad. I thought in the bad there was some poor clock management from Duke in the final minute of the first half. With 45 seconds left, Syracuse called a timeout. I'm not quite sure what they were doing. They It was a huge favor to us that they went ahead and used that timeout. It was a gift from the football gods that they did, and it should have set Duke up in a situation where we had time to run several additional plays. Nate Shepard rambled for 32 yards after that, and we then used our timeouts poorly, I thought. Manny Diaz needs to, look in the mirror and say, I need to be more, I need to figure this out. We let 20 seconds or so go that probably shouldn't have gone. And as a result, we attempted a 45-yard field goal. We never really got a shot at the end zone. I think if we handle our timeouts a little bit better, then it could have been a shorter field goal try. Todd Polino missed that one. Polino's having a tough year so far. He missed that one. Or maybe we could have gotten in position where we actually get a shot at the end zone, but time ran out on us. I mean, it was 24-3. It's not like it was hugely important, but there will be a game at some point where clock management will be hugely important, and we need to clean that up a little bit.
I think it's great to point that out because it was, again, that could have been a catalyst for Syracuse coming back, right? If we were able in the second half, because we left points on the table. That's exactly what and you don't want to lose. You don't want to leave points on the table. We talked about that against Illinois. We talked about that against Tulane. Leaving too many points on the board means that the other team has an opportunity to take those points back from you. And so I think in those situations, and that's, that end of first half situation could easily have been an end of game situation where you're trying to get down and kick a field goal for points to send it to overtime or to win the game. You don't want to mess up on the timeout. You want to execute correctly. And so, yeah, it's a small thing when you look at this game and how lopsided the result is, but it's obviously something that they can continue to work on and get better.
You mentioned the penalties. The penalties were really an issue in this game, especially early on. Duke ends up committing 9 penalties for 105 yards. Mm-hmm. Yards are precious, Donald. 15-yard penalties, like we committed a bunch of those. That can have one team marching down the field, or that can kill a drive almost instantly, a 15-yard penalty. Duke's got to clean that up. Duke's done a really nice job of cleaning up the turnovers. We were 3-0 on turnovers in this game. And actually, I'm amazed. Duke is now positive in the turnover margin on the season. I think we're +1 on the season, even though, like, we started out the year, I think after 3 games, we were like -5 or 6 or something. It was bad. Mm-hmm. So it's great that we've gotten that back to a positive, but the penalties we do have to make sure that we clean those up.
That's the easy improvement, right? Like, take care of the football. Don't make stupid penalties. And again, most penalties, it's one thing if it's a penalty where you're going and competing and hustling. It's another one where you're doing mental mistakes that lead to penalties. And I think that's what you just need to clean up. It's an easy, again, another thing that I'm glad that we got a lopsided victory so we can kind of, I'm sure in the quarterback room, or I'm sorry, the offensive room, they can laugh a little bit at some of this stuff and go, okay, no, really, this is something that we need to continue to bring down to 0, because the one thing we don't want to do is leave points on the table, leave games in the balance because we were making boneheaded decisions.
And then quickly, as we wrap things up, just want to mention a couple ACC things. Florida State, after looking absolutely unbeatable, lost to Virginia in overtime this past week. The ACC, I've got no idea, Wake Forest was beating Georgia Tech almost the whole game. Georgia Tech came back and won in overtime. Mm-hmm. On a very controversial, it was the first overtime, and the Wake Forest coach decided to go for 2, as opposed to going for 1 and tying up the game. I guess maybe he thought he had a better than 50-50 shot at making that 2-point conversion. But so Georgia Tech beats Wake Forest and stays unbeaten as a result. Weren't a lot of other big results. There were big results outside the ACC. Was there anything else you saw they want to highlight?
No, but I think, Jason, I was talking about this the other on Saturday after the game, and when you look at our schedule, it feels like we're going to be favored. And the thing is, there's been a quirky thing that's happened over the last couple of weeks. In the ESPN predictive index that they do, we have been the underdog against NC State and against Syracuse by a wide margin, 65%, 70%. But in Vegas, they favored us in both of those games. And Vegas has turned out to be right in both of those situations. I think it's interesting that when you look at the rest of the schedule, we go across country, do our first cross-country ACC trip to Cal this next weekend. This is a 10:30 spot on the East Coast for us. So get your coffee in now. But after that, we have a bye, and then we have Georgia Tech. We have another bye after that, and then we have Clemson, and then we kind of go with the rest of the schedule where as you mentioned, includes Wake, it includes UVA, who beat Florida State, and it includes UNC. And in all those games, it feels like Duke should be right there with them. Maybe the Georgia Tech game will be one where we're an underdog. Maybe Clemson, because I believe the Clemson game is on the road.
Georgia Tech and Clemson are the two games left where you think Duke is probably an underdog. But yeah, schedule's shaping up very, very interesting. I agree with you, by the way, really quick, that the next, the fact that we get a bye before Georgia Tech and then a bye before Clemson, get a little bit healthier.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe put in some wrinkles that you hadn't had a chance to put in yet. It really sets up very, very. It does not take a huge stretch of the imagination to look at this schedule and go, yeah, Duke could run the table from here. I mean, it is not at all crazy to think that could happen.
Yeah, and the last thing I will note, going back to that Virginia Florida State game, I just want to say that field storming was wow.
That was dangerous.
That was
dangerous.
19 people were hurt in that. I'm not saying that in jest. That's serious. 19 people were hurt in that. That's exactly what we don't want, including one guy who tried to climb the goalpost and then fell because he couldn't get all the way up. But I think the one thing is it happened so quickly because I don't think the referee even got a chance to signal that the last play was incomplete before he was inundated, and I think it was Squirrel White from Florida State was inundated by thousands of people rushing the field. Again, rushing the field, we have the fines in place. Clearly, people don't really care about the fines because they're doing it anyway. But that was a little bit overboard. And I think they need to figure out how to make it where the players can get off safely if they're going to do it. I think, Jason, you talked about the 60-second clock, but that was more in basketball. The 60-second clock. It's even more important in football because in basketball, there's realistically, there's probably on 7,000 people who can get onto that court. Yes, it's smaller. But in some of these football stadiums, like Clemson, there's 80,000 people waiting for you to get off. And if you can see that, Scott Stadium was full for the first time in a very long time, and it felt like almost everybody in the stands, save for those few people in Florida State, Garnet and Maroon, were on that field in the matter of seconds. And so that is something that needs to be better. If you're going to do it, you got to make sure it's safe. Otherwise, you can't do it. And what the last thing you want to do is be that team who rushes the field and does it in such a poor way that it takes it away from everybody else.
I completely agree, sir. All right, we got some basketball coming up this coming week. Believe it or not,
do we?
The Blue Devils are about to play. We're about to watch it. Friday night countdown coming up. We're gonna have a little bit of a preview of that. We'll also talk about Duke's next opponent, the Cal Bears, a team that's 4-1. We'll preview that a little bit for you as we come up this weekend. Then obviously next weekend we will recap countdown and recap the football game. A lot of stuff coming at you here on the DBR podcast. Until then, he's Donald. I'm Jason. Here's the Duke Band playing us out and taking us home.